Okay. Hello. Uh, I'm Belle Sprague, and I'm a member of the San Bernardino chapter of ANG, and I see a few familiar faces tonight. I've been stitching for about 20 years, and a long time before that, I became somewhat interested in photography due to a couple of friends and a family member who were very skilled photographers and taught me some of the basics. When I became the webmaster of the San Bernardino site several years ago, I realized that good photos of people's work would be the single most important part of making the website a success. I took many of the photos of members' work myself during chapter meetings, and for photos sent to me for inclusion, I often tried to apply the photo editing tools I'd learned to use in my capacity as a volunteer member of the web team for a dog rescue group. About 3 years ago, I decided to try to show San Bernardino members a few concepts and techniques that would help them take better photos and to send me for inclusion on the site. That was the basis for this Zoom presentation. So tonight we're going to look at a few basic principles of good photography that you can apply to taking pictures of your own needlework. There's no need to write anything down. Chapter members will receive a PDF of this PowerPoint presentation, including my speaker's notes, assuming we don't have any more glitches with the technology. Okay. No, I want to, okay. Sorry. Okay. Starting off with a photograph from one of my very famous, favorite photographic artists, Ansel Adams. He was an American landscape photographer and environmentalist from 1902 to 1984. And I thought about this when I first saw the picture and his quote. And I realized that stitchers are potentially good photographers for several reasons. First of all, they pay attention to the small details. Secondly, they take the time and care needed to do good work. They have a good color sense. Even though Ansel loved black and white, we obviously work in color when we needlepoint. And they're used to working with lines, shapes, and proportions and balances. So if you apply the skills you already have to making your photographs, you'll be pleasantly surprised with the results. And of course, practice, practice, practice. Nobody's going to see your mistakes unless you're doing a presentation like this one and you need to show them to make a point. So you'll see some bad photographs tonight. We don't have to buy film anymore or pay for developing and wait several days for the photos to be ready. Now I'm going to show how old I am. Does anybody besides me remember the little photo drop-off huts in mall parking lots? Yeah, raise your hand or nod your head if you do. Yeah.
Yep.
Now, if we don't like the result, we just delete the photo and keep on shooting till we get the effect that we're trying for. Okay, these are the four major things to consider in needlework photography, and we're going to go over each one of them to a certain extent this evening. At the end, we'll have, as I said, a few less than award-winning photos to analyze, courtesy of myself and my friend CJ Fry, and I think a lot of you probably know CJ. She asked me what she could do to help me with this project when I first put it together, and I simply asked her to take a bunch of bad pictures and send them to me. She very graciously obliged, and I added them to my own selection of unfortunate photos that I've taken over the years. So we have many examples of what not to do. Okay. Okay, first of all, we're going to talk about equipment. There are lots of possibilities here. This wasn't the first one on the list 3 years ago, but it certainly is now because I think more of us take photographs on a regular basis with our smartphones, some of us with our tablets, than any other single thing. There are still compact digital cameras. These are sometimes called point and shoot. And while we're looking at these two things, I wanted to point out something you might see on either or both of them. This little flower icon, I don't know if you know what that means, but it means that you're in close-up mode. And that means that obviously you're going to get some more detail, but there are sometimes when you're not going to want to use it, and I'll try to point that out later on. Okay, then we move up the scale to a camera that looks like this, a high-end DSLR camera. DSLR stands for Digital Single Lens Reflex camera. These are built to accept interchangeable lenses. There is a fairly steep learning curve once you start with a DSLR, but they're adaptable to just about any photographic situation that could ever arise. And this is the top of the pyramid for those who are really, really, really interested in photography for its own sake. And then you might be a little surprised about this last one, an all-in-one printer scanner. But yes, under certain circumstances, you can take a good photograph of your needlework with one of these, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But no matter which mode or setup you use, there is one very important secret to making the most of your photographic instrument. And I'm now going to share this gem with you. Are you ready? Here it comes. Read the manual. Yes, I mean it, really do it. It's boring, I know, but that's where you're going to find out some important things. Okay, moving right along, let's start by talking about a few things that we can expect with a cell phone. And I'm going to be generic here because we've all got different models of smartphones. We've got different operating systems, different companies. There's not just one single way of using them. So this is, read the manual, look things up online, experiment and play with things until you figure out just what are some of these funny little lines and squiggles and everything. First of all, I'd like to point out that you can set your camera so that you get these horizontal and vertical lines. You see them in both of these images. And those are the rule of thirds lines, which you probably already know if you're going to paint or arrange something. You sometimes want your areas of interest to follow along at least a couple of the lines in the rule of thirds. But it helps us get everything structured and squared up, even if we don't want to do that. The square and the up and down line with a little sunlight, you can put your finger on a point on the lens of your smartphone if you want to show the camera the area that you want to emphasize more than any other. And the slide up and down will give you a variety of lighter or darker settings. So it's worth playing with just to see how it will work for you. In the other picture, the one with the strawberries, you'll see two not quite overlapping crosses, and that is to help you square up and even up everything so it's going to be as sharp and clear as possible. You can also use this to completely center the object you're photographing. In a landscape shot, you wouldn't be trying to center anything necessarily, but in taking a picture of a piece of needlepoint, yes, you probably would. So that can be useful. Please just experiment and see what's what and what you like and what you don't like and what you don't care about. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised that there are a lot of cool things that your phone camera can do for you. There's even some photo editing that's possible within the smartphone or tablet. Sometimes you can find various color correction overlays that can be displayed. The framing can be square or rectangle. Again, keep reading the manual, keep looking for. I think online videos are terrific for a lot of informational kinds of things. I use them all the time. Um, YouTube is my friend. Um, you also, if you're using another type of a camera like a compact point and shoot or a DSLR, you may need to move your photos from that camera to a computer if you plan to resize or edit them in detail. So if you do that, one of the easiest ways to transfer photos from one of your machines to another is if you've got a cloud storage account, that's the easiest and quickest way. You can set your camera to send, or your phone to send everything to your iCloud account, and then you can access that from your laptop if that's what you want to do. If you've got a compact camera, DSLR, you might need to transfer the images from using an external device such as a flash drive or a memory card. And here you see a variety of inexpensive things that you can use the flash drive or the memory card, put it into the this little box, and then plug that into your computer and transfer the images that way. Okay. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to show you is something that I'm sure you're aware of already, but sometimes, especially with a handheld camera, uh, you tend to be a little shaky depending upon how light it is in the area where you're photographing your piece, uh, or how large or small the piece is. It would be nice if you could hold your camera steady. So I took an inexpensive tripod I had, and I bought a little $8 attachment that screws right into it, which holds the phone for me. And then that way I can set it and make sure it's parallel with the object underneath it and get a nice, clean, clear shot. One thing about using a device like this, though, or the next one I'm going to show you, is that sometimes we we manage to jiggle the camera a little bit as we're pressing down on the shutter release. So again, you're going to want to read the manual for this. There are, with some cell phones, uh, the option of using a connected device to click the shutter. And one of the ways they used to do it was with earbuds. You used to be able to press the volume up or down on your Apple earbuds. I'm talking about the wired ones, in order to click the shutter. Now I just got a new phone recently. I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that I can do something like this, and I haven't figured out anything yet. You might want to say, well, is that does that work? And I found out I've always liked a shutter release if I can find one or adapt one, because that way I know I'm not going to ruin my photo by jiggling it. One more um, one more tripod here, one more holder. Was uh, I was looking at this one day and said, wait a minute, I know what I can do. So I did. Yes, that's a case creation. Yeah, I'm proud of this one actually. I I put if you look closely, I put a piece of felt as a cushion, just so I wouldn't scratch the phone or anything. And then I moved it around until I got what I wanted, and I pressed the shutter, and I got a really good picture. Also, the black around the back, I black, especially black velvet, which this is. I keep a yard of that in my camera gear because it's a great way of being a neutral background that just absorbs any ambient light, and it gives you a nice start. You don't have to worry about anything but what it is you're trying to take the picture of. I've also got about a yard of gray blue heavy cotton that I can use as a neutral background as well. Uh, so that takes care of equipment as far as I'm concerned. Next, I want to say a few words about image size and resolution. This piece is called Coronation. It was designed by Jim Worth. It was from his Duodecagon series, and I stitched it. And this is actually, you're looking at two versions of one picture. If you look carefully, you're going to see some differences. Look at the canvas itself. The, the canvas on the left side, you can see the grain of the canvas very, very clearly. You see how it's a little muddled and smushy on the right hand one? Even the color's a little bit different. The details on the left image are much crisper and sharper than they are on the right image. Now, what is all this about? Well, the I took one picture, as I said, the one on the left, and it was about 2.5 megabytes, which made it about 1900 by 1900 pixels. And when I wanted to put it into this display space, I just shrank it down a little bit. The one on the right, though, this is the same image, except I made it much, much smaller before I put it into the space. People, this is something I've had to train some of my dog rescue friends. When they send me photos to put on the website to advertise a dog that's available for adoption, some of them send me a bunch of pictures and they've made them all small. So before they send them to me, so that they could put a whole bunch of them in one email. That doesn't do any of us any good, because starting with a small picture, I don't have the detail, the crispness, the sharpness, and it just, if I try to make it any bigger or change the size of it at all, it just muddles it up. So I asked that they send me the biggest size they can, and guess what? Send me 2 or 3 emails if you have to. That's perfectly fine. So try to shoot as large as you can, and then you can worry about making it smaller if you need to before it's before you're finished. Um, the next thing is about light, and here we go. Here's the famous picture of, oh, look at this, isn't this pretty? And it's yeah, the glare is spoiling it. This is, by the way, Spirit of the Southwest by Susan Portra, and it was stitched by Carrie Ince. Carrie's a framer. I think probably some of you know Carrie, and she was she and I talk about things like this all the time. She's my neighbor and friend, and one of the things is the tragedy of the glass that gets in the way when you're trying to take a picture. Uh, the very best piece of advice I've ever heard about how to prevent photo glare if you want your piece to have glass on it. And perfectly legitimate to want a piece of glass over your work if the environment is such that you don't want anything to happen to the stitching. But what you do is, if you take it to your framer, ask them to take a photograph of your work before they put the glass on, right near the end. They might charge you a little bit for this service, but it would certainly be worth it. The only other alternative to that would be trying to take the frame apart, take the glass out, take the picture, and then put the whole thing back again, which is what you're paying the framer for in the first place. So it's probably a good idea to see at least if your framer will take the picture for you. And okay, I hear all these people who are thinking very loudly, well, gee, there's such a thing as non-glare glass, you know. Yes, I do know. But non-glare glass is not always totally reliable. Here's a picture. You can see a little bit of it, upper left side, not too obtrusive. But here's the same photo taken at a slightly different angle, and there's a lot of glare. And yes, this is non-glare glass, so it's not perfect. Also, Carrie tells me that if you hang a picture that has non-glare glass over it too high up on the wall, that tends to make it glare even more than it otherwise would if it were lower. So I'm not sure of the science of that, but she knows what she's talking about, and I would trust her on that. Okay, next, let's look at, okay, a little bit of science, very little, but I just want to explain a few things. Uh, Light is what photography is all about. In fact, the word photography itself translates from two Greek roots, meaning light writing, writing with light. Um, the color temperature of light is measured on the Kelvin scale, and that uses absolute zero as its base number. I'm not even really sure what that's supposed to mean, but the photos show the color temperatures of various artificial lights. Natural outdoor light is in the 3600 to 5000 Kelvin range, and that would be this area here. And if you look at the chart down here, uh, a natural outdoor light in midday is going to be right about in here, just about in the middle. Morning and late afternoon sunlight is in the warmer end of the range over here. And midday is usually in the higher and therefore cooler end. Color temperature, when we use that word, it's not the temperature we feel on our skin, but rather what our eyes see and interpret as color. And then the next one, this shows, this is meant to show you the difference in the various kinds of lights. And I don't know, is this incandescent? Is this photofluorescent? I'm not really sure, but what we have here is true true color. This is as close to true natural color as we come, and this, of course, is more to the yellow range, and this, of course, is more to the blue range. Now, a lot of what you decide to choose, well, for your own house, as well as how you want to shoot a photograph, is going to depend upon your preferences. I actually tend toward a little bit more toward the blue side than the warmer beige yellow side, but it's a it's a personal choice. But within that, I'd say I would want to be aware of this and know how I could tweak it a little bit if I wanted to. Not just letting the light dictate to me, but deciding which way I want to lean. Okay, next we have, okay, now I'm going to show you some ways of photographing your pieces. Some are purposely uh, poorly done, and others I hope I show you something that you can find immediately useful. Okay, what you're looking at here is my ultra modern, state of the art, high tech studio. It's my kitchen with a TV table pushed up against the sliding glass door to the backyard. Okay, but, and this is um, natural sunlight about 2:30 in the afternoon on a day that was sunny, but with some high clouds. So the only problem I had here was getting rid of that glare because this was indeed, as you see, already behind glass. So this is what I was able to do by just experimenting a little bit. I just moved myself around to the side. I tweaked the frame a little bit until I got what I wanted, and I took the photo, and I'm perfectly happy with the way it came out. I've got a little bit more shadow on the right side than I had intended to, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was a decent looking picture. This is, by the way, Muscat Grapes by Susan Treglon. I stitched it, and it's total tent stitch. Last time I ever did an entire piece in tent stitch, and I don't think I'll ever try to do that again. But to each your own. Uh, the If you are using a DSLR camera, um, to get a good read on the sunlight, you're going to want to use aperture priority rather than focal priority. Uh, Starting with a low f-stop, it's going to let in lots of light, and you're going to have a shallow depth of field, but that really doesn't matter so much in needlepoint unless you have a piece with huge, giant relief portions and raised parts. But even then, it's not going to be that much of a problem, I don't think. If you're using a if you're using a compact camera, you want to try close-up mode for the same reasons, but be aware that close-up mode can give you some very odd and unexpected effects. So just mess with it, experiment with it, and then decide whether or not it's something you even really need or want for that particular photo. Okay, this one, well, first of all, this is a round robin project that was stitched by members of the now defunct group called Sunkissed Stitchers over in Pomona. What we did was we each came up with a color palette we liked and some possible suggestions for patterns and stitches. We put everything in a bag, and then we passed the bags around, and people would then get pull something out of somebody's bag, and then they'd stitch a piece, and then they put it back in the bag and pass it on to the next person. It was a lot of fun, and I still enjoy looking at it and remember, oh yeah, I remember Mary stitched that, and so and so. But this first picture, I was experimenting with some natural light several feet away from that window, and I wanted to see what kinds of effects I could get. Now, first of all, this first picture would not work as a finished picture for a couple reasons. First of all, the black outer frame is cut off. You could rebuild that with editing tools, but it would be a lot of work. And it would have to be squared up because the perspective there is throwing off the rectangle. This was my favorite photo of this because what I did was I made sure that I had some good light coming in from one side, and what I got was some nice, you could see the depth of the stitching. And you can, it really gives you a lot of good detail, see exactly what's going on there. I have people occasionally asking me about, well, what about, can't I just take a picture and use a flash? Because that's a nice bright light. Yes, it is. And here's what this thing looks like with a flash. And the lesson here, of course, is let's not use flash. Okay, I accidentally slipped ahead here, but we can go ahead with this. This is okay. This is Fabergé egg by Michelle Roberts, which I stitched. This was at the oh, I think it was uh the seminar in San Antonio a few years ago. Um, anyway, this first image is taken under normal old style household incandescent lights, and you can see they throw off quite a yellow tint. Same thing, this is with a color correction that I did after I'd taken the photograph that approximates natural daylight. And this one is natural daylight. I just dragged it over and moved it toward a window. Um, People are going to have different reactions to this, just depending on your taste. I I like the one with the natural light very much, but what I miss in that is this nice sheen on the bottom blue down there. Um, it's just a matter of experimenting and then deciding what it is you like. There's no one right answer, just like there's no one right way to stitch any piece or use any particular colors. Okay, once in a while, you're going to want to take a photo of your work and it's raining outside or it's nighttime by the time you think about it, or just other things prevent you from using natural light. So you can make yourself a nice, easy, cheap lighting diffuser to use in that situation. First of all, you need to get one of these. This is what I call a science project cardboard. You can buy these for under $1 at well, at the dollar store, places like that. Um, it needs to be white on the inside because that's what your reflection is going to be. Then you find one of your stitching lights or some other uh, bright light that you can focus and keep in one particular place and move it around if you have to. And then you need something to prop your work on. An easel like this might work, or just a piece of cardboard that gives you some dimension. And what you do then is you point the light toward the the white cardboard. And then you move everything around and you just tweak it a little bit here and there. You tweak your piece a little bit here and there. You move the light closer and further away uh, so that you can get an effect that pleases you on your piece. Now, obviously, the piece can't be in the same plane as the light. You are going to be standing over here to the side a little bit so that your camera is parallel to your object, but you're not getting anything from either a little hunk of the light that's showing through or the cardboard. But if you shift everything around a little bit and just play with it a little, I think you'll get the idea, and it really can give you some lovely effects. And it's doesn't take very much time or effort or money to put something like this together. Okay, now that we've talked a lot about how to take the pictures, I want to mention and show you a few photo editing techniques. Not that I'm trying to get you to go out and spend a whole ton of money on Adobe Photoshop or something, but I think a lot of people enjoy seeing how things can be corrected. And I've noticed that since I've been using photo editing software, taking my own pictures to begin with has gotten better because I'm more aware of some of these things. So um, there are options and possibilities. Now, this is the picture of something that was actually photographed in my copier. I put it, excuse me, I have to, yeah. Um, there are advantages and disadvantages. One disadvantage is that you can only fit smaller pieces in there, although you don't have to worry about closing the lid before scanning. Just place a neutral or dark cloth over the piece and the flatbed to block out any extraneous light. That piece of black velvet works really nicely for this. Another drawback with using a copier is that the stitching itself needs to be pretty flat against the scanner glass. If it's in a frame or on stretcher bars rising above the plane of the stitching, that will cause the image to be somewhat out of focus because the focal depth on the scanner is very, very narrow. Even slightly dimensional stitches might cause other parts of the image to appear a bit blurry. But there are some in this example, that's partly why. Now I would like to show you some of the basic tools that most photo editing programs offer, just so you can see what can be done. Okay, here is the image after I had played with it some. First of all, I straightened and squared it up, but with perspective cropping, so now it looks more like a square. This square here, I dodged. These are photographic terms that have been used ever since the beginnings of photographic development when they used all the chemicals and the dark rooms and everything. Dodging can make a section lighter. Burning makes it darker or more saturated. Cloning can copy something from somewhere else. This is what the original center looked like. I decided to change it. I just copied one of these little guys and just pasted it in there. And the one that was really the most necessary for this one is healing. That rivet isn't there anymore. These were pieces of canvas samples that San Bernardino A&G got a hold of. I think it was a shop that was going out of business or something, and so we were all able to just pick a few and share them. So that's the kind of thing you can do with just fairly simple uh, uh, photo editing tools. Okay. Even if you have no interest in learning to do your own photo editing, I hope that looking at a couple of before and after images can help you sharpen your composing skills so that you can correct some mistakes through the lens before you shoot. And of course, that's the ideal, and I'm still not quite there. I would much rather take a really, really good picture without any weird glare and funny colors and slanted sides, but when I can't do that, I end up with something like this. This is a Libby Sturdy Santa, which was stitched by Linda Kemmerer. I made this shot in a hurry one evening at our guild meeting, and I used a compact camera under the lights in our meeting room. And Joanne and some of the rest of you probably remember this is when we were at the Ayers Hotel conference room. They had so many different lights in so many different places all over the ceiling of the conference room. Some of them were incandescent, a couple of them were fluorescent. There were all these different lights all over the place and a lot of glare. This piece was framed under glass, so that's where some of these reflections were that I had to get rid of. Okay, so what did I do?
Belle,
Yeah,
sorry, we have about 5 more minutes left.
okay.
So
I'm almost at the, okay, I'm almost at
okay, great. Thanks a lot.
the
Okay.
what's, okay, all right. Well, this is, I won't go into all the details then, but you can see that I was able to get rid of some of the, uh, some of the glare, squared it up, made the colors a little more true. Um, Same kind of idea with this one. This is a friend of mine, Suzanne Jones. Her mother's name was Virginia Koopman, and when our mom was 8 years old in 1928, she stitched the sampler, and I managed to straighten up the picture and clean up some of the edges. One thing I didn't do though, there's a hole up here at the top, and Suzanne said, please don't get rid of that hole. Because I guess when her mom finished the sampler, she was so excited. Uh, she ran right over and found a nail someplace and pounded it right into the wall of her room. So, okay, this is a list of various photo editing software programs. I won't go into the details on them. I will be sending up once I get the once I get it done. I'm going to be sending a PDF of tonight's presentation, complete with my speaker's notes, uh, so that you can each member can have one if she wants to. And it'll have my email at the end, so you can, if you have a question or something, and be happy to see if I can respond to you. Okay, now we're going to look at some bad pictures. And I hope that you're going to be able to see some of the things that you were, that we've talked about here, that I've talked about. Okay. First of all, I took this. This is a case creation. No, not no. I'm sorry. It's a Lee mini purse, and it's blurry, and there's absolutely no thought given to the shape or the edges of it, and we're picking up funny glares, some of the beads from the lighting, and it's just not a good example. This one too, I tried to, I used side lighting because I wanted the texture to show through, but I overdid it here, and the left-hand side is just completely dark. And again, I cut off the bottom of the pillow. Um, this was this is a Brenda Stoft piece. I did it for my mother-in-law, whose name was Buddy, and she really liked it. Uh, this one, my friend CJ took this one, and it's first of all, it's pretty dark. It's skewed. It's a tray, and it's kind of hard to even see the handles of the tray there. We're looking through some kind of a table onto a very busy carpet, and oh yes, we can see the photographer's reflection. This one, well, I'm going to skip this one because more of the same, more of my light problems. Uh, this is another one that gets cut off. The middle of it's pretty nice, but we've got a thumb and a finger on the side there. This one could have been a really good photograph, but of course it's way too dark. And what I find kind of amusing, and I think CJ did this on purpose, is right next to where this is hanging. Oh, look, it's a shade, and there's light coming through the other side. So lifting up the shade or moving the piece over down near the shade might have given it exactly all the light that it needed without too much fussing around. Okay, I think that takes us to the end. Yep, another good quote by Ansel Adams. A good photograph is knowing where to stand. And I think there's a point to that. Okay, ladies, that's it. And if you have any questions or comments, I guess we don't really have too much time here, but as I said, I'll send this out, and I'll My email address is down at the bottom of the very last one. So if you're so inclined, drop me a note sometime. Okay, I'm done.
You need to stop share then.
Okay. Got it.
Thank you, Belle.
You're
You
welcome.
need to unmute.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Belle. Really appreciated it. Thank you, everyone. I know it's been it's a late night because we do have members on the East Coast. So, what now?
The contest, the photo contest.
Oh, the photo contest. Yes. We'll have information in the February newsletter. But go ahead and take a photo of your artwork, of any piece you want. Practice some of the techniques that Belle went over, because we will put them in, not the February, if we, not in the February one will have the information about it. So we'll have them in the March newsletter. If it turns out too many people, send in photos and it's too many, what do you call it? Gigabytes or whatever for the newsletter.
Put them in a Google Drive.
We can put them in a Google Drive. We can put them on the website also potentially. So everyone can have a chance, and then we'll do the voting in early March. So at the March meeting, we will announce. The winners are the people who got the best,
We're voting in
the
early
most.
March?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Early March. So we have February to get them in the March newsletter. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything else?
No?
No?
I
Then
want to say what next month's program is.
it's the workshop. We already went over that during the
Oh,
business
okay.
meeting.
Very
So
much.
to all, a good night. And thank you very much, Joanne. It's appreciated.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night, Belle.
Good night.
Thanks again.